website. Okay, so hello everyone, good evening and welcome to our LSA Inclusion and Wellbeing Forum hosted by Incluzun.com. Just before we begin, we will go through our forum decorum. So as usual, all mics will be muted. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to put your questions in the chat. Myself and Miss Harmeet will monitor the chat and we can ask any of your questions. And if something comes up during the presentations, we can address them too. The meeting will be recorded and shared on our forum and our website at incluzun.com. And we will keep all of our discussion very professional. So we don't mention school names and we don't mention students' names. But if you have a question about a specific student's needs, feel free to ask the question about the needs and we can chat with you thereafter. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing and our co-hosts can begin their share. But just in answer to the chat and the questions, guys, in Europe, the average percentage of children identified with dyslexia is 15%. In America, that's in and around 12%. And in the UAE, we are really under-identifying dyslexia at an average of about 6% in schools. So most schools in the UAE are missing out on 10% of students in every class in being identified with dyslexia. So it's a huge area of concern and a huge area that we need to learn about and know more about. So it's really good that we've got our two wonderful presenters today who are going to teach us all about dyslexia and dysgraphia. So I'll hand over to our presenters. Thank you.
Rohit,
thank you.
I think you start first.
Okay, thank you. I will be starting my presentation with dyspraxia, and then it will be followed by my colleague Bhavna on dyslexia. Thank you so much, Miss Catherine, once again for your amazing support and incredible support. And thank you, Miss Hamid, for encouraging all of us and putting us, bringing us on this common platform. So I'm just starting it. I'm just sharing my screen, and let's start.
You're welcome, Rohit. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Okay. I hope my screen is visible to everyone. Okay. Is it visible, Bhavna?
Yes.
Okay, great. Perfect. So I'm going to start again with a video and I'll let you just ask you a few questions. Can anyone tell, after watching this video, can anyone tell about the condition of this child and what do you think the barriers and learning challenges you notice in this child? Okay, so here is it.
I have a dimple at the top of my right cheek. Everyone tells me it's cute, but the truth is, whenever I look at it, it reminds me of the reason I got it. When I was about 4, I was climbing over a chair. I fell and cut my face open against a table, which left me with the dimple. It's not the only scar on my face either. I have loads of cuts and marks because I was always having accidents. So eventually my mom took me to a therapist. My mom told me she knew I had a serious problem when the therapist asked me to draw a simple straight line. It didn't matter how many times he showed me how to draw it. I couldn't copy him. My brain has difficulties with processing information as well. Facts go in, but they fall straight out again, so I can't remember things. I used to get in trouble at school because teachers would explain something to me, but 5 minutes later I'd forget what they just said. Everyone thought I was being the class clown when I said I couldn't remember, but I was telling the truth. After a while, it wasn't so funny. I struggled to learn how to read. It wasn't until I was 10 that those little squiggles on the page began to make sense. But by then, I had gone from being the class clown to the stupid kid. I got
Okay. So I request all the participants here to just share what do you think the condition of this child and what barriers to learning you notice. I'll just give 1 to 2 minutes to everyone so that I can have the comments and your views, that what do you notice?
Okay, we have Vedahi. I hope I'm pronouncing your name probably not correctly. Not able to concentrate. Priya, motor imbalance. Michelle, organization of thoughts and processing.
Right,
Thank you, guys. These are really insightful. Hina, reading difficulties.
right. Any particular condition that you can think of?
Not able to think and understand. So can you
Okay.
label some of these conditions, guys, like cognitive processing, learning delay, dyslexia, or something like that? Can you think of labels that you might associate with them?
Retention problem, learning disability, uh, dysgraph, uh, mm, close. Well, okay. Uh, hmm, Dyslexia. Hmm, okay, great. So let me start. Fine. Thank you so much. Intellectual disability. Very good. Okay. Some of them are really dyspraxia. Yes, that's
Mm.
the right one. Ubreen. I think Ubreen Fatima has said. Keki Franks. Yes. Dyspraxia. Yes. Sangeeta. Absolutely right. Spot on. All 100%. All three responses that I received. Yes, that is dyspraxia. Vilma, definitely. Well done. Perfect. Any more? Okay. So it's over 1 minute. Now let's quickly move to the presentation. Yes, this is dyspraxia, my friends. And let's start our presentation. Let's learn more about it. So, okay. So what is dyspraxia? Let's take a closer look. Uh, Gross motor, definitely there is problem. Children with dyspraxia, they face problem in getting dressed. They have coordination, balance. They have physical issues. Then we move to communication. Speech can be mature, words get muddled up, definitely, and some of the responses were there. Concentration, poor memory, yes, they get easily distracted, they have limited focus. uh, Moving to the classroom difficulties, difficulty in getting ideas on paper, definitely. Listening skills are not that well, it is still in the developing stage, or they are poor. Affected by background noise, absolutely. Difficulty in copying from the board, they cannot copy as it is from the board. Now as we move to the fine motors, there are manipulation difficulties. Handwriting issues are there. Shoelaces, definitely they can't tie their shoelaces. Now organizational skill, like their organization skills are also poor. Needs uh, they find it, the memory difficulties are there. Need visual reminders again and again. Sequencing problem is there. So this is some of the issues that I received in the responses that I was getting, definitely. And then I got the condition, that is dyspraxia. So all these are there with children who are having this condition, who are having dyspraxia. So let's move to the next slide. So now what do we know about dyspraxia and what can
Mr.
be the other
Rohit,
name?
sorry to interrupt you. Could you possibly put it on a slideshow, because it's a little bit tricky to read the slides?
Okay.
Maybe play show or slideshow, whatever
Is
it
it
is.
right?
This is better. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so now what do we know about, if anything, like if something is not there, so just let me know so that I can correct it, or if there is any viewing problem is there, so just let me know. So
Yeah.
this is other name for the dyspraxia is developmental coordination disorder. Disorganization is the most integral part of dyspraxia. People having dyspraxia will definitely find social communication very difficult. There are the severity of the coordination difficulties can vary as individual to individual. there is a profound and very severe gross motor problems, and it can also vary. It can lead to poor overall muscle movement. That can also lead to clumsiness, difficulty with balance, hand-eye coordination. Fine motor skills definitely is a problem here, where it will affect task involving manipulation, finger control, and prominently it is writing in the class. That's why they it's a problem for them to easily copying from the board. Now, students with dyspraxia are often visual lateral thinkers. Yes, they are visual thinkers. They are very intelligent, they are imaginative, they are creative also. So teachers or the support givers definitely should use their strength and use them in the projects where it involves their intelligence, their creativity and imagination. Now, straight away moving on to the effective strategies for support, that how you can support these children who are having this problem. First of all, you have to pay attention to their sitting adjustments, which is it should be a supportive chair. Their posture is very important, that the children are seated with their feet securely on the ground and maintain a 90-degree angle in the knee for the knees and hips. The height of the table should equate to the elbow height when seated. So this is, I've also shown the picture here. So sorry, I'm also shown the picture here. So this is can be referred. A writing slope can be really helpful for them while writing. So it is a very helpful tool for them. It gives them space. It gives them the control and a support where they can use with their they can write properly and they can write with the good support. Now, it is very important that you should place these students at the front of the board, l- uh, particularly when they are sitting in the room. So they should be put at the front place where they can have a easier view of that board, which will which is likely to improve their concentration and focus. And definitely reduce the clutter, definitely reduce the bench clutter. If there are any bags, items on the floor, on the table, just remove it, so that it doesn't look any clutter to them, because it might distract them. It will be they may not be able to focus properly. So reduce that bench clutter. uh, okay, so just let me know, am I fine now? I'm I'm talking at my normal pitch, so I will be little louder. Uh, okay. Now, for the fine motor skills, especially for the writing difficulties, for these children, you have to consider very specially adapted pencil grips, like I shown in this image, rulers with handles, so that it is easier for them to use, and that will further develop their pencil grip. You can definitely practice multi-sensory letter formation. That is also helpful for the children with the autism, that is sandpaper letters. But here also it can helpful for them as well, which is sandpaper letters, rice tray. You can definitely use all these strategies to help them in the letter formation. It can be really helpful to them. Well, graph paper is again a very good tool in letter placement and spacing, because these children definitely face a lot of problems in spacing, in understand the spacing of the spacing between the letters and words. So definitely graph paper can be used to guide them in letter placement and spacing of the words or letters. Again, now for to improve their fine motors, their cognition ability, and their skills to understand. So you can use the puzzles such as maze. I have already given one example here for fine motor control. So these games can really help them. Then you can move to dot puzzles, button and beat threading games, and Legos, obviously. So these are some of the tools you can use in developing their fine motor control. Cutting out complex outline with scissors, yeah, this is something very common that we use for other children with other special and additional needs as well, like autism and other children, where you can teach them how to cut properly, guide them better, so their fine motor skills will definitely going to improve. Is my voice clear now? Like it is audible? Okay, perfect, thank you.
Perfect.
Okay, now effective strategies that how you can optimize your teaching inside the classroom and how you can differentiate, you can create a differentiated activities for them so that their learning can improve and their academic, not only their academic but their personal learning should also improve. So you can use more of the color models, film clips, sound where possible to demonstrate theoretical concepts. They are more such children having this need, they definitely respond more to the sounds and color models if you have designed, so you can help, you can take all these tools and give then you can teach them, so it will definitely help you. Definitely give clear instructions. It should not be so much of instructional based, your whatever activity that you are doing, it should be stepwise. Dissect and divide your experiments into distinct steps so that it is easier for them to learn, and give clear instructions. Maybe it can be one word or three word, but it should be clear so that they clearly respond to you and clearly follow you. Now, if your lesson includes using scissors, folding paper, which might cause a struggle for a dyspraxic child, always introduce that activity beforehand to the child so that he or she should be prepared for it. If you will introduce suddenly to him using all these tools, so definitely he's going to get confused because he's already so much confused and he's not able to follow. So it is better that you introduce that activity beforehand before proceeding to your activity, or whatever lesson plan you have developed for that child. So it is very, very, very necessary to introduce that activity beforehand to that child. Okay. Now, providing written, visual, and recorded support. That is again, I would emphasize on this. So it is very much required that you provide recorded support, which is going to really helpful. Now, I want to stress more on the touch typing. Teach if these children really can grasp easily this touch typing, which you can use for such children, because handwriting is always a struggle for them. So touch typing is much easier for dyspraxic child and can help facilitate their writing and composition skills. So I would really like to promote this particular activity if you can do this with your child. Touch typing, there are also games available where you can teach them, so definitely they are going to respond well to it. uh, Obviously recorded materials work well with them, so you can definitely give them books with the recorded books or something material which any plan that you have developed, so you can have a recorded support learning material for them, so definitely it is going to help you. Provide breaks, definitely in your schedule. There has to be some breaks at every activity before you make transition to another activity. So let them stretch, unwind themselves, get up from their desk so that they feel involved and they feel it should be interesting enough. They should not get bored of with activities coming, but they are not getting any breaks in that. So definitely it is easier for them, like it will be really helpful for them if you will give them proper breaks after every activity or after every two activities, when you think that okay, it's enough, so let's give them some break. Now, uh, technology can be really used here, so but you should be really, really very much in control and very much thoughtful while using the technology. So it should maybe not be a overload for them, but it should be limited to their understanding. So definitely try out the technology, and this reduces the need for like the fine motor skills involved in writing. So definitely when these children struggle with such kind of activities, like with writing is a struggle, when they are still, you continue with your intervention that you are giving to improve their writing, but use the technology also to help them learn something on the computers, on the keyboards. They are, if you will teach them that how the letters, numbers, if you can teach them through the keyboard, which will be really better. And for the assignments also, if you want to complete, the teachers give some assignments, so it is better that you use this technology apart from what guided intervention you are giving for the writing. That's okay. So technology can also play a key role in one of your strategies. And not at last, not the least, praise and rewards are something that actually create connect with your child. Like children, with if you don't give them, if you don't acknowledge their small milestones or achievements, they feel distracted, they feel disconnected with you. So definitely praise and rewards in a phased manner. Whenever they achieve something, the milestone has been achieved, so definitely give them rewards and praise, so that they feel involved, they feel part of the class. Because already they are in the situation where they feel embarrassed, and with other children who are so quick than them, so they feel little, it is a kind of demoralizing effect on them. So definitely rewards on their progress, let them celebrate their success. So it's very important that you reward them whenever they achieve some milestone. They do their task, they complete their task without support, and let them celebrate their success too. That will lift their spirits. So now I will, if any questions are there, so I'll ready to answer, but I would like to invite my colleague Bhavna to complete, because next is the next session is on a different disability and learning difficulty. So I would like to invite Bhavna to take on the next presentation.
Um,
We can
Rohit,
leave,
continue with the
Hi,
presentation.
Bhavna. We can
Yes.
leave the questions for the end. If you keep posting the question onto the chat, then Rohit and Bhavna can answer your questions as they go along. So if you have queries, keep posting them onto the chat, and then they'll get to you at the end.
Right.
Rohit, can you please continue with showing your presentation? I will continue.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, sharing your screen. Yeah.
Okay. So this is
So,
so this is it's
so
your
this video, yeah, is regarding dyslexia. So Rohit, you can play the video.
okay.
So this video speaks very clearly and very loudly what is dyslexic or what is dyslexia about. Some parents or some people think that dyslexic is, that the words the children read are in opposite direction, they write in opposite direction or mirror images, or they see the things in different way, the letters thing they see is in different way. But actually it is a reading problem which a child is facing, and usually he's termed as, a lazy guy, or a person who is not focusing on doing things, or he's labeled like a something who is not performing to his level, because he is able to speak, he is orally very, very good in, expressing himself, but when it comes to writing, he is not able to do it. And most of the time, uh, a child is not identified quite early, because when you go in my presentation, you will see that the identifications are quite late in his life to get him identified. Maybe you and me are dyslexic, we still don't know, because we are living our lives very normally till date. So if you see the indicators, you will analyze that, you will feel that yes, might be I am also dyslexic. Rohit, can you please change the slide?
Right.
So as I said, that most people understand dyslexia as a problem of reverse letters or backward writing or mirror imaging, which is okay with children, and when they start writing in FS1, FS2, up till grade 1, there are children who can make mirror images, but that's okay. We should ignore it. Till that time, it is not a red flag if you don't see any other symptoms. So basically, they feel trouble in reading fluently, in blending, in phonic awareness, and they are slow readers who makes a lot of mistake while reading, in which also impacts to sometimes it also impacts the way they comprehend their structure of writing. So they don't have any problem when you are speaking to them, or they are listening a text based thing, or something is dictated to them. But when it comes to reading by themselves, it is a problem for them. So reading, spelling, writing, and maths, especially the word problems, they are stuck there because they are not able to read properly, they are not able to understand it properly. Rohit, can you change, please? So you can see that dyslexia can be, usually in young children, we see that dyslexia is genetically, uh, uh, we get it through heredity. But there are certain incidences, in your life when you get some accident or some problem, so which can also affect your reading conditions in your life, in your later stage of life. And dyslexic is, it impacts individually in a different degree. So it can be mild, it can be moderate, and it can be profound. So when it is mild, a child can, completely camouflage it, and slowly and steadily he can cope with it, and he can perform quite well. But if a right time of intervention is guided, his breakup time becomes lesser, and he will bloom earlier than what you might expect him to do as a lone child. With moderate, they need quite a lot of support, and profound is, it's very difficult for them. They might don't want to go to school, they might not like to study at all. So it's very, very difficult for children and parents to understand what the child is going through, so that a right amount of intervention can be given to them. Next slide, please. So there are a few red flags which you, as a teacher, as an LSA, we can understand if there are few signs which we can see. So a red flag can be put on, so that the teacher, the parents can be acknowledged that there is some problem going on, and they can keep an eye on it. So if a child is late talker, he has trouble in pronouncing certain words, or he mispronounced certain words, then we have a red flag. They have poor phonic awareness. They are not able to identify the alphabets. They are not able to blend them. They are not able to identify the first and the last alphabet in the sounds. You have a red flag. Struggles to connect sounds to the letters. So if I segment a word and tell him to write it, he might not be able to do it. So he's not able to connect the sounds to the letters so that it can make a complete word. Difficulty in rhyming. They are not able to do rhyming like small children do. So we have wheels on the bus go round and round. So a child may not be able to rhyme some sort of rhymings, which are usually very common with young children. And he struggles to recall the number of the days of the week and the colors. If any of these symptoms you see in a child, there is a red flag that should be identified in early stages and notified to the parents. So when you move to kindergarten to first graders, where the child starts writing up, Then you have certain other indicators as well. Obviously, phonic inaccuracy is always there. They have poor spellings because they are not able to connect the sounds with the alphabets. They trouble remembering sight words. They might, how many times you practice, but they might at times, say this is the, they will not answer you correctly in the sight words. They have poor handwriting, confused sequence of letters, and may insert that are not there. Frequent as errors while reading, omission they might do, insertion of other words they might do, they might replace a word with their own thought, or they do guessing. So when they are reading, you can identify that they are not reading perfectly. Next. With the first grader and second grader, because most of the children start writing here, you can see the formation of sentences, or you can see question answers. So when you see a teacher is putting a lot of red marks in a notebook, so that is the first flag I would say. You should always see that. They are slow in inaccurate reading, their comprehension have a problem, they have poor handwriting, avoid reading and writing, omits or mixes up suffixes, trouble retrieving words, and poor spelling. However you teach them spellings, they might remember for the tomorrow's dictation, but if you ask them after a week or so, they might have forgotten it. So spellings is one of the red flag, I would say. The next one. So how to identify? So somebody was asking question, what is the age? So I feel that, psychological assessments in early years are not a very reliable predictors. So one should look for the clinical signs only in the class. And when you see that there are clinical signs in grade 1 and grade 2, then you can ask the parents to go for a certain help to the psychologist, and then you can create a lesson plan for the child. So the earliest identification is when the child starts to learn to read and write. So if you see here, the examples, what I have written, what I have done that. So in year 1 and year 2, when they start to write, you can see that their writing, the spellings, their formation of letters, it's all going haywire, that they are not using punctuations properly. The alphabets might not work out in the lanes, what we want in the lines. They might go up and down. They are not able to identify the directions. So that is why there is a confusion between P and D, D and B, up and down, right and left. This is always a problem with dyslexic. Next. So these are some signs when you check for a child in a school, that is he using capital letters when the starting of a sentence is there. Always check the capital letters. Is he using punctuations? Is he using spellings correctly? The B and the D is always a confusion most of the time, because the right and left, they are always confused. P and D is a confusion. B, D, P and Q is a confusion because they all look like same, up and down, right and left. As I said, direction is a problem with dyslexic kids. Then prefixes and suffixes, they are not able to use it very oftenly when they don't understand that what makes a prefix and what makes a suffix. High frequency words might be maybe wrong, because high frequency words, what I told you as the sight words, we call them, they are very poor at it to remember, to recall it. And use of one syllable words are mostly you will see in the writing, they are using syllables which are words which are with one syllable, because it's easy for them to write. But when you compare them when they are speaking, it's totally different. They are very smart in speaking, but when it comes to writing, they are totally opposite. So his presentation, writing presentation, and his personality totally contradicts. Next. So how to help them? I think this is very important. Don't ask them to read loud in class, because it hurts them. They know it very well, they cannot read it. And we are asking them to stand up and read in the whole of the class. It demoralizes them. Don't ask them to copy notes from the boards, because they see words very different. So they have to copy each and every alphabet from the board. So it might take a very long time to copy anything from the board. Don't expect them to finish the assignments as quickly as the rest of the class, because it will take them time to write the spellings. They have to give in certain extra time to adjust and write what they want to, how they want to express themselves. So there are few strategies which commonly we can use in class. So if you see, a lot of studies have been done, and most of the studies suggest that the children with dyslexia are visual conceptual learners. That is, they learn things very easily with the pictures rather than, showing them writing in the books. So always use things which help them to visualize the thing. They are basically visualizers in a 3D format, not even a 2D format. So if you give anything which works in 3D format, it works very nicely with them. Multisensory teaching aids is to assimilate and to retention. So if you give a word to see, to say, to write, and to again copy it in the notebook, so you are covering all the areas of sensory needs. So he can see it, he can say it, he can read it, and he can write it. Teach correct letter formation and handwriting, because if he understands the P and B's and he understands how he can differentiate between the two, so he can understand, his reading confusion can become very less. Include fun in learning, because just putting them in front of books will not help them. So use board games like word building. Scrabble is there, we can use it. Computer games are there for learning, for building the spellings. Word blocks are there to increase the phonic knowledge and word building. Give keywords at the start of the topic. Always when they are about to write, give them a list of keywords which they will be using, and that keyword should resemble to the topic and to their vocabulary. Rohit, next. So I said create a word bank also for them, because it is easy for them to, whatever the words they are using, it is easy for them to resemble and then use it in their writing. Teach how to break down the assignment and task, which is very important, because a big task may, scare them, that they have to do so much of things. So making it in small chunks, it makes them easier, and the flow also becomes easier for them. Use assistive technologies like speech to text for completion of assessments and tasks, which is very commonly used internationally. And I think it should be actually advisable in all the schools here to provide the children with assistive technologies so that this can be used. Voice recorders should be given, to take the notes rather than jotting down everything on the paper. Encourage them using bullet points, flow diagrams, and knowledge maps to complete the assignment rather than giving them whole chunk of composition to write. I think this is a much better way they can express themselves in small amounts. Always praise them for what they have accomplished and reward them. As Rohit said, they should be always praised. This helps in building the morale and confidence of the child, that yes, he has accomplished something and he is also doing good in the class. Because what happens is everybody he knows is doing well in his class, and he's the one who's not able to read. He's not the one who's able to write properly in the class. So the moral of the child gets very down. He feels, I have some problem with me. We do understand there is a problem, but the right amount of strategies which we will use with the child will help him to uplift his problem area. Next, Rohit. So this was the presentation by Rohit and me. If you have any questions, please, we can answer you.
We'll try our best to answer.
Hi guys, that was a really, really interesting presentation and so many practical means for identification, which I think, given the initial chat that we had, where people are, it's very evident people are not identifying accurately. So that's really, really useful. Both presentations really awesome. I think both conditions are very much overlapping in many ways. Now, we have some questions. At what age should one wait for the child to show signs? Thanks, Rihanna.
So as I said in my presentation, the red flags are always there in early years. And the identification is only possible when the child starts to read and write. So if that red flag is there where he's not able to blend, he's not able to write, or his writing skills are quite poor as compared to his class level, I think there is a red flag, and then you should look for having a proper diagnosis and then providing a good support for the child.
What you can do is at an earlier age, you can put it as language concerns. So don't identify a child with dyslexia too early, because what happens is that the label then gets stuck. So usually in EY and year 1, even up to year 2, I tell the teachers that there are language concerns until I can get a formal identification done. So that's what you can tell your Senko, that you are seeing concerns with language development. And then they can tell you, maybe you can try to support and scaffold their learning, use some strategies like modeling, and see if that makes a difference. Then you know that there's a chance for language development. But if you see that even with all these strategies and support that you're putting in, and the language is still not coming on at the expected rate, or there's not much development, that's when you need to maybe call in somebody to do a more formal observation.
Yes. Uh, Miss Catherine, there is one more question where it is there that some app, they are asking for app, and how can I help the student who cannot do maths like summing up, etc. So one app that I have seen is Fabula. You can also use that as good speech, but it is more likely that it will give you the sounds of that particular actions or letters or numbers. So I think you can type it on Google. Fabula is good. And
Speech. She's asking for speech to text. So there's one that's free already built into your iPad. If you are using an iPad, there's one that's already free. Otherwise, Dragon Diction is a very good one. These are for when they want the students to type into the when the child speaks, they want it to come up as speech. So is that what you were talking about as well, Rohit?
Yeah, miss, similar to that, but your one is more appropriate. But this is one wherein more of like I was focusing more on the listening part. Like in this particular app, that when you press certain words or keys, so the word for the speech, you listen to that particular word. You press that, like there is a word, then you press it so that that in the recorder it says that word, so that it goes into their mind. So that's why your one is more appropriate. This one can be used at the early stage, or maybe a lateral stage, where you need to understand how is the pronunciation of the word, or how that particular word is said,
It's text to
numbers and all.
speech, the opposite way
Yes.
around. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, it's a way
yes. I
around.
would
So
suggest
it's
read writing. They
read
have a lot of
writing is
app.
better.
Yeah, read writing is very good for using an app in early years for children. And then few part of it is free, and then the rest of the part it becomes paid. But then it's worth it. I would say read writing is very good for phonic awareness and phonical learnings.
Yes. How can I help? One question is, how can I help student who cannot do maths like summing up, etc. So, Miss Hamid, can we also suggest here the numicons here? Cannot do maths like summing up, etc. Numicons
Yes.
or blocks.
But for Numicon, you would require some basic training.
Hmm.
But Numicon is very good for that. There are also power of 1 and power of 2. That's also very good for if you want to do the basic foundation for building up
Addition and
addition and subtraction and numbers.
And always using lots and lots of manipulatives and visuals.
manipulatives. Exactly.
Using lots of cubes, using beans, using
Beans.
marbles,
Right.
anything that you have in the class that the child can visualize and feel what the number is and what it represents. So it's not an abstract thing like this. 1 means the number, written number 1, but they actually have a physical 1 item that corresponds to what it is.
Actually, Miss, this can also be done with the demonstration and presentation activity method, where you are already draw it on the board and then place it in front of the child on the table also. So when you are demonstrating, you are presenting also. That presentation and demonstration plays a key here. That what you are showing that child on the board down when he's sitting on the table and on the board. So he has to follow it. So that presentation and demonstration should be clear enough to give him that idea, and use more of blocks, particular addition and subtraction that if you're teaching, and then you can put it on the board and with the number, and then you do that addition in front of him, so that he pays full attention to it, and the same is there on the board on the table where
So
he's
there is
sitting.
one app what you can use is Touch Math. Touch Math is a system where you place dots on the number, and then it's easy for the child to count and work it on. So
Yeah, it's
addition and
touch type.
subtraction, Touch
Hmm.
Math is quite easy for young learners, I think.
But this is
Touch
year
math
7.
also, touch math is also, you also require some very basic training.
Yes,
And yeah, but it's very, very good for the ones in early years, because you can also use touch math to do addition and subtraction. So
yes.
for those in the higher year group, I would suggest the power of 1 and power of 2. I think there's more. I've not personally used it, but I have heard quite good feedback for it. Has anybody ever used that? Anyone here? Okay, nobody. All right. I think there's a question is asking, somebody saying that anybody reading for somebody who has dyslexia. For anybody who has dyslexia, to teach them reading, there's quite a few programs. One of them is the one that's very effective, a little bit boring, but very, very effective, is toe by toe. Extremely effective. You can see, you'll see the improvement very, very quick. Then there is also Nessie. Nessie is also very good for, and it's got games in there. Plus Nessie also builds on other parts of your learning. There is also a dyslexia learning, which it comes in a book, and it's got five books, I think 5 or 6 books. That's also quite good. And on top of that, if you use a lot of methods, like a lot of sensory learning, a lot of kinesthetic learning, using like, for example, you can spray foam onto the glass and get them to write the letters, saying the letter names, use sandpaper, use threading. You can also play little games, like you can have the alphabets made from hard plastic, those plastic ones, throw them in the sand pit. I ask them to, when they find the letter, to say the sound, trace the letters. So you can also incorporate a lot of other methods. And a very, very important part to support a dyslexic learner is rhyming. There's a game you can buy, or you can just make your own rhymes. Like, for example, you can have the word rat, and then have a whole set of words that rhyme with rat, ask them to put it on, play a game with them. So there are a lot of ways to support that.
And one more tool we can use, that is jigsaw phonics. If somebody has heard about it, jigsaw phonics, it's 72 puzzles of the phonics sounds, like starting from sat pins, phase 2 and phase 3. So you connect those puzzles, and then you create a word using those sounds. So you put the sounds like those puzzles in front, and then if you're teaching any sound or word, so like suppose it's sat or mat, with the initial sound, so you can connect those through those phonics, these pieces, and put it in front of the child, so he will have a visual understanding of what you are saying, so, and writing on the board in front of him, in a small board. So this way you can teach the sounds also, and the words of using those sounds. So this is one can be a good activity, and visual activity for the learners.
And we're getting
Just a
a
suggestion.
number of questions around exam accommodations. So one of the questions was, will my child be ready to take the exams, and what accommodations can be facilitated? So each child is different, and that depends on the child themselves, and only you as a special educator can appraise that with your SLT. The exam accommodations depends on the exam board that you're operating under. So CBSE, US curriculum, UK curriculum, each of them do offer exam accommodations for dyslexia. So depending on which one, like MAP allows a reader and it also allows extra time. CBSE allows a reader in some settings, not for the board exams as far as I'm aware. The UK IGCSEs and the GL assessments all allow for a reader, and very often the GL have an inbuilt reader, so you can activate the text to speech within the assessments. So it depends on which board you're being examined by, but pretty much every one of them do give accommodations for dyslexia. Now, in the UAE, you have to have a formal diagnosis generally in order to access those. Some emirates are a little less strict in how they approach that, and some schools can find ways around it. But usually you need a formal diagnosis, or you need evidence that the child has been getting support for dyslexia for at least 6 months. So if you have IEPs for a child for 6 months or more, or can generate them, if you know what I mean, you can allow for exam access arrangements for those kids.
Yes. Miss, there's one more question which is a very good question. Can non-verbal child also have chance to fall under dyslexia? Miss Hamid and Miss Catherine, I would really like to know that can all these children have a comorbid, like they can also be dyslexic and autistic, and can they also be ADHD and having the symptoms of dyslexic? Is it possible that the non-verbal child can fall under this? This I really want to know.
Okay, so pretty much every individual need you come across can be comorbid with any other individual need. And usually you have at least 2 or 3. You may only identify one formally, but usually there are multiple barriers to learning associated with each one. So if you think about dyslexia, anything that's dys means a disorganization in processing. So dyslexia is where the information that is entering from the senses, be it your visual, your oral, your whatever form of input you're taking about literacy and sounds, as it's being processed in the central area up here, it is that's called the hippocampus, this part of the brain that processes it. It gets mixed up. And sometimes, as Miss Bhavna was showing, that the letters might dance around, they might flip around. Dyspraxia, as those messages are being relayed back to your motor neurons for action, they often get mixed up or disorganized. So very usually dyslexia, dysgraphia, which is for writing, dyspraxia, which is coordination, they all go hand in hand. It's usual that they would go together. Yeah, so absolutely. And if a child is nonverbal, it is a little bit more probable that they would have some form of dys condition. So whether that is dyspraxia or dyscalculia for maths or whatever, it's likely that they would.
Thank you, Miss.
Okay, guys, we are just about at time. If you have questions, further questions, please do feel free to reach out to us on LinkedIn and we can all engage there. I've shared our LinkedIn, our ID in the chat at the start. I'll just share it again now so you can join us, and we will share lots of useful resources and tools. Thank you so much to our 2 speakers today. It's been amazing. If we have any other speakers, LSAs, please join us. I am 100% sure that we have lots of knowledge and really useful tools that you guys can share. please let us know. We all support each other. Once somebody steps forward to share on the forum, we add you to our inclusion training group, and we all come together to support in creating the PowerPoints and generating the content. And you'll meet Miss Bhavna and Rohit there, along with some other really good practitioners. So please do come and present with us.
Thank you, Miss.
Thank you so much, guys. Thanks, everybody. We hit 99 people today, which is great. Have a
Wow.
wonderful evening, and we will see you soon. We'll see you
All
next.
Thank
right.
you, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. See you. Thanks, Rohit. Thanks,
Thank you.
Bhavna.
Thank you, Miss Amit.
Bye.
Thank you, Miss
Miss.
Catherine. Once
Bye.
again.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Chukua mwenge meta. Chukua vitano. Kama